And thank you for responding to the invitation for this press conference that is being held under the banner of Citizens Manifesto, which is a convergence of a lot of civic formations, different citizens organizations. Quickly just introduce our panel, starting with myself. My name is Briggs Bomba. I'm the convener of the Citizen Manifesto process. My left is Duduzile Nyirongo. She is a citizen activist and also a clergy woman. That's how she likes to be identified. Next to Dudu is Makomborero Aruzivesha, General of the Zimbabwe National Students Union. And to my right is Comrade Fatso. You all know him. He is the creative director for Mama Network. And next to Comrade Fatso is Samuel Wadzai Mangoma, the director for VSET, the Vendors Initiative for Social and Economic Transformation. And with us here are various comrades and representatives of other movements that are part of the citizen. So we'll get straight into the statement that we'd like to make. And it goes. After the statement, my colleagues here will help respond to any questions that you may have. Citizens of Zimbabwe, organized under the banner Manifesto, representing a diverse cross-section of Zimbabwean citizens, civic organizations, would like to make the following statement with regards to the developments in our country. First of all, we welcome the collapse of Mugabe's regime, dynasty plans. The events of 15 November is marking the onset of the irreversible collapse of Mugabe's tyrannical rule. We are guided by the sentiments of ordinary Zimbabweans, vendors, maids, students, villagers, unemployed youths, engineers, all of whom with the state of affairs in our country. Particularly Mugabe's autocratic rule and his total indifference to people's suffering. We can say with no fear of any contradiction that the vast majority of ordinary Zimbabweans see Mugabe go to see the final end to the nightmare of his undemocratic rule. Only welcome the demise of Mugabe's illegitimate rule and echo the resounding call of Zimbabweans across the nation, their will in no uncertain terms and want Mugabe to go. The will of the people must be respected, and indeed, Mugabe must go. The vast majority of Zimbabweans are hugely relieved to see the collapse of Mugabe's to extend his rule even beyond the grave through base efforts to impose his uncouth life as the next president of this country. The people's will was made clear this past Saturday when millions of Zimbabweans, all generations and all social classes marched in unison and demanded that Mugabe must go. In diversity, peacefulness, discipline, solidarity, and creativity displayed in the march demonstrates the potential and promise that we have as a country. Here to mourn for Mugabe, but to conduct the last rites for his burial. Departure from the political stage that he has monopolized for 4 decades is an important first step in the autocratic state and steer the country towards democracy and shared prosperity for all. Talk to restore the status quo, even for a moment, is totally ill-advised of the churches to see this moment as an opportunity to break with the past, forward looking towards the Zimbabwe we want. The second point I want to make is that we say no to military rule. We accept the collapse of Mugabe's rule. We also want to make a clear call for the speediest transition to civilian authority and a democratic order where citizens' rights and freedoms are guaranteed as per our constitution. Military rule, but we are not 10, but a transition to. We are opposed to calls to resuscitate Mugabe's rule under the guise of return to constitutionalism. Constitutional about the ways in which Mugabe acquired and retained power. The country must look ahead, hold the luxury to look back. Loosely assembled intellectual fences just driven by analytical elites disconnected from the pulse of the people. The third point we are making is forward to a better Zimbabwe. We believe that the only way for Zimbabwe, therefore we urge all Zimbabweans to seize this moment as an opportunity to close Mugabe's rule and place the country on an irreversible transition to democracy and social justice. I would like to reiterate our vision for a better Zimbabwe, related in the 10 cardinal pillars of our living document, Manifesto. We're underpinned by servant leadership, active citizenship, that are our human dignity, corruption-free Zimbabwe, priority investment in youth, equitable and sustainable governance of our natural resources and environment, national identity and heritage, and an affirmation of our democratic rights and freedoms as guaranteed by the Constitution. Forward towards a better, we are calling for the following specific things. The NTA. We are calling for transfer of executive authority to a national transitional authority in the shortest possible time. All-inclusive national dialogue. We are calling for the immediate establishment of an all-inclusive national dialogue process to develop a comprehensive agenda for reform and reconstruction. We call for an inclusive process to discuss and agree on the specifics of the national transitional mechanism, including its specific tasks and duration of tenure. Thirdly, democratic reforms to pave way for free and fair elections in Zimbabwe. The transitional authority must open up democratic space, give Zimbabweans the freedom to participate in all processes to shape. Fourthly, socio-economic reforms to address that affect ordinary Zimbabweans and provide immediate relief to our pain and suffering. We believe that we must immediately institute policies to relieve people's suffering and provide opportunities for dignified livelihoods. Calling for an end to all forms of harassment and criminalization of informal traders, vendors, and cross-border traders. To the international community, upon particularly SADC and the AU, to support people's desires for freedom and a better Zimbabwe. Call upon all international bodies to put pressure on President Mugabe to respect the will of the people and step down immediately. To fellow citizens in SADC, the AU, and the whole world, people-to-people solidarity, to stand with us in this struggle and to stop your own leaders from giving unprincipled elite-to-elite support to Mugabe, and to please to accept the irreversible rejection of his rule by the people of Zimbabwe. And very, very importantly, to our fellow citizens, this is just the beginning. Let's continue the struggle until the whole edifice of oppressive structures in this country collapses in the hands of active citizens. And active citizenship is about everyone, it's about every day, and it's about everything that matters in our lives and the future of our country. Everything depends on us as citizens. If we stagnate as a country, it is our responsibility. It is because of us. And if we progress, it is also due to us. Responsibility. There is no one who can substitute for citizens' agency. Big man or woman who can take the responsibility for everything and solve our national challenges, and which can make our national problems disappear. In the final analysis, the only miracle hands are the hands of the people. The struggle continues, a luta continua. Thank you very much. We will open up for questions and clarifications that my colleagues can assist with.
So any questions, comrades? Questions, comments, thoughts, clarifications that you want to make as the gathered president? Yes, comrade.
My name is Namatare. I want to ask, within the NTA, what is your, how long should it be for? Is it just an open thing?
I think the National Transition Authority needs to have definitely a defined time period that can happen to the next elections. I have to put in place the necessary reforms for Zimbabwe to have free and fair elections. That's something to be decided if it's an NTA that lasts for a period of a year or so. The thing is that also the NTA needs to be comprised not just of members from the ruling party. They can be members from the ruling party, but also from the opposition, civic society, Democrats in different disciplines that can put in place the necessary reforms that we need for elections that can take us to a new Zimbabwe.
Okay. Are you comfortable with the Zambia pushing out the current system if they commit to such?
I think it has to be clarified that as the people, as the general citizen, as workers, as farmers, we have suffered under the Mugabe regime. In terms of socio-economically, before we go to slave, and our commitment to remove Mugabe is unquestioned for a long period. Even in 2008, when he was defeated, you can go back then. The students, society, citizens, movements converged from a political alternative and offer a political alternative to the Zimbabweans. Mugabe in 2008. It was this same security apparatus, this same people like agents today who sustained Mugabe even in 2008. So now, if they are to say Mugabe must go, it's not them who is initiative that have to join. They're actually joining us because we've been saying Mugabe must go for a long time. So they're the ones who are joining us, and we are setting conditions for them that after they join us in our call for Mugabe to go, they do not have any right or mandate to decide who our next leader is or who will lead the next government. So I think combined here, our message is that whatever happens at the end of the day, we should have an NTA whose sole responsibilities and duties be to ensure the conditions for free and fair elections on which the people of Zimbabwe should have the right to determine who their next leader is, to determine what type of government they want and what kind of issues, of which we are clear on our issues, on what kind of people would want the next government if you check in the manifesto.
On Minister's words that it was NPF
it's mess.
Okay, so political grandstanding. ZANU-PF is not where it is today by design. It's the weight of the unsustainable contradictions that they have as an edifice, what we called the edifice of oppressive structures in this country. It's as a result of those contradictions that we are seeing the current splitting that is taking place. But what we are keeping our eye on ourselves is that when the war veterans, for example, were on the other side to have a meeting, the other time you remember they were even tear gassed, they experienced what it means to call for democratic space, need to have freedom of expression and all these things. They experienced it because they were on the receiving end. So they've been forced, or the system, if we were to call it that, has been forced right now to open up. And our commitment is to say we are putting a wedge in that particular opening space so that it does not close again. So that's why we say the struggle must continue, because we must continue that struggle to make sure that as we move forward, the same way that we are gathered today in Africa Unity Square, the same way that we marched on Saturday, that must be what defines Zimbabwe and the Zimbabwean dream. Freedom to march every time they are unhappy by authority. People must have the freedom to express themselves. So Chinamasa is fooling himself if he thinks that he is in control of what's happening. They were forced to open up. Now, a lot of it is not within their control. The fact that we are gathered here today, the fact that there's now a prayer meeting every day in the park, the fact that people are talking as much as they're talking there, if you go online, they are not in control of that. It would be completely ahistorical to assume that there's like someone with, that's how history works anyway. This era is collapsing, and it has opened up a space that we're saying we must go in and make sure that we secure it as a free democratic space for a better Zimbabwe.
The thing is that the military have turned this tap on, but us as citizens need to keep this tap on of citizens agency, of citizens action. We need to be mobilizing daily. The march on Saturday was an historic event. It doesn't lead to a new Zimbabwe, and so we need to keep this tap turned on space and expand the space, and be taking action every day for the new Zimbabwe that we want. Citizens agency, the other key thing right now is a shared national vision. What they don't want, but not everyone is sure on what they want. And that's why also for us, we think the Citizens Manifesto is key. This is a document that has been part of a very participatory outreach process, getting people's views across the country, in many different provinces. It's key to be working with documents like the Citizens Manifesto, so we can be defining as Zimbabweans, as citizens, what is the Zimbabwe that we want. Not just what are we against, but what is the vision.
And just to add on Chinamasa, I think focus because of individuals that are. I think that those were reckless statements that we are in as a country, as a people. Let us not take him seriously. He has never been a serious person from the time that I began to know him. And he has failed. He failed as the Minister of Finance. Bad things for this country. And focus because we've got bad apples. What you can only do is to remove the bad apples and continue with the path that we've. He's not with us, and I know that he meant what he was saying from this project that we've started.
Yeah. I don't want to dampen this. I want to know what you as are going to do that so that this doesn't become another
what?
Egypt.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think one thing why we are reiterating or emphasizing the point that whatever it is, but it could be another way. It's cool. It's not the first in Zimbabwe. What I was saying, the first was in 2008, where the posts we went trains were subverted. It's because one to avoid the Egyptian scenario. Focus on defending the constitution, not on defining our future or leadership. That's why we have this manifesto. We are citizens who are trying to rally, defining their own future, not dictated by the army or anything. What we want a good economy. We want to enjoy freedom of expression. We want access to education. We want a functional economy. We all want jobs. We want defenders not to be harassed in the streets. We don't want journalists to be harassed for maybe writing their stories and being gagged. It's what we want. We have to define it. We have to define for ourselves. Like what Namasa tried to do on Saturday, was trying to write narrative on behalf of ZANU-PF. They had go saying, I know events or what, but we know ZANU-PF cannot command those numbers to the Zimbabwe ground. We know that the people of Zimbabwe were actually happy that finally ZANU-PF is not only PF. So when currently citizens in Zimbabwe have made us jobless, are also jobless. Mugabe has made us jobless. It should also be jobless. I think through the process in 2018 or whatever, we should have elections. Guided by an NTA whose Comrade Father said should be to ensure a conducive environment for free and fair elections, on which international partners such as AU, so if wants to pose, we should not have anything to hide. We should. It is to ensure that the army does not impose another rule on us like they did in Egypt.
So in short, our job is not done until these things are attained. We are not going to celebrate the fall of Mugabe and disarm. We'll simply celebrate it as a moment, but we'll continue the struggle towards a better Zimbabwe that is defined by everything that Marco has said and is captured.
Okay, the NTA, how should it be constituted? And we also know that there are rumors or reports that the Vice President Mnangagwa former to constitute a provisional government. So what are your views?
A national dialogue that actually discusses how we should constitute the NTA, how we should compose it, who should sit in it. I don't think anyone can come up with a final idea right now. What I can share with you is that in our meeting last week, a Citizens Manifesto process, we had the participation in that meeting of someone from ERC, and they had their views. They said if the NTA should be constituted, it must be through, before there must be a referendum. Say, do you even want an NTA? Secondly, there must be